Mr. Argenti, while he may be the master of beauty, he is definitely not the master of any in-game game mode in Honkai Star Rail. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about why you as a free-to-play player should not be summoning on Argenti, because my god, I made the mistake so you don't have to. And with that, we'll be going over every single negative with him, why he's bad, why you just shouldn't summon on him in general, right? What problems you might run into. So let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Videos like this get a lot of hate, so I really appreciate if you like really base takes and me calling out what I see wrong with characters, then please drop a subscribe on the video. My god, me quitting Wuthering Waves really destroyed my career. And honestly guys, I'm just baffled of what else I'm going to do for my YouTube career. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about everything wrong with our little soy boy beauty knight queen himself, Argenti. Let's go ahead and hop into negative number 1 now. He really doesn't do a lot well. And what I mean by this is that whenever scenario you put him in, he doesn't really do well at that scenario. You would normally think like a character that is like a master at something, like they're really good at this one thing, but they suck at everything else, unless you're Ruan Mei, then you're just absolutely perfect and a queen at everything that you do. But in most circumstances, you have someone that does really well at one thing and it kind of falls off with the rest. He is kind of good at one thing and then completely falls off into the rest. He's not a master of one, and he's also not a jack of all trades. So why is this, right? Well, because of his kit, right? His kit really relies on him getting his ult. His ult is the main bread and butter of his kit. And with that being the case, his energy cost is insanely high, so it's actually really hard to get. And that's not to say that his talents and stuff really don't help with giving him energy, but honestly, if you're not fighting like 5 enemies on the field, even if you're in pure fiction, he is not the best case scenario that you can use. I don't even use him for pure fiction anymore just because there's better options out there. Hell, even Herta is better than pure fiction. I thought Argenti was quite literally going to be built for pure fiction, and the first couple pure fictions he carried me, but right now he's not really doing that much more for me. So that's why I kind of have him in this boat, right? Because he is really good in AoE scenarios, because that's where he gets the most of his energy back from. You can realistically spam his first ult, and with their HP pools being like really lower than anything else you would face in like Apocalyptic Shadow or even Memory of Chaos, you can cleave through everything. But with how the enemies are now, he doesn't even really do that. So you're really relying on getting the full 180 cost for his ultimate to really do any damage. Outside of that, he doesn't do much damage. His AoE attack does some damage. If I hit 5 enemies on the field, that's like 50-60k damage. But if he's hitting one enemy, that's like 12k. He's like hitting less damage than Boot Hill on unbroken enemies, which is absolutely abysmal. And they're really doing the physical class dirty, which god, I hope Yunlin saves this class. She surely will, right? She'll surely save the physical class. We can only pray to god and hope it does. But compounded with this issue, he also needs a very specific team. You realistically probably want to run Ting Yun on the team with him, just so he's getting extra energy back. Not to mention this, a Hoa Hoa on the team is going to be absolutely massive for him as well. So there's like 2 units that you really do want on a team with him. And honestly, I do think Jade could give him quite a bit of extra value just because of the fact he does hit multiple enemies. He plays off of her really, really well. But you can't really remove Ting Yun from the team because then you run into a lot more energy constraints. So his team is very constrained for the amount of damage you actually get, right? And that's really the thing here, right? Is with his team being so constrained, he is not really hitting that much damage for the value of the amount of things you're having to put in the team to make him work. It's not like Firefly that does absolutely balls to the walls damage when you put her on a break team, right? And it kind of makes it all right where that's the only team that you can run on. With Argenti, if you don't put him on this team, he performs even worse. If you put him on this team, he performs just okay at best, and he doesn't really have anything to do there, right? So that's like my main gripes with Argenti. There's nothing really in his kit to help him do what he really needs to do to output damage, right? And for this example, we'll take something like Memory of Chaos, right? Most of the time you're running into Memory of Chaos and you're facing maybe 2 to 3 different enemies on the field, right? So this means you're hitting these enemies with a skill attack, you're charging his ultimate up slowly because you don't have 5 enemies on the field to hit. Not to say like the deer boss or something that spawns in a bunch of mobs like Yang Qing would not be something good against them. You also have to realize if they're not physical weak, there's even more damage out of the window because he doesn't do much damage with his skill attacks anyways. So you're just losing out a lot in his kit. His kit has a lot to be desired. Even his Eidolons are not that good. Sure, he does give himself some crit rate in his kit, so he's not as hard to build as some of these other characters are. With some of these new characters in the game, it's like, hey, throw this stat on this character and we will help that character out tremendously. Pago, this is amazing. This is great. And that's my main gripe with him. Now, let's go ahead and hop into another gripe that I have, is that I think one of his better teammates will be Jade, and she's on the banner right next to him, right? But not only that, while we're talking about banners and units on banners, these banners are absolutely atrocious. We're talking Serval, Asta and Natasha. What character here is going to help him out? Asta could give him a speed buff and an attack buff. That's fine by me. Ting Yun would have been a much better option here. I am not gonna lie. It just seems like this banner is a throwaway banner. And I feel like the next patch as well is kind of like throwaway bullshit, except for the first character. I feel like a lot of people are excited for Yun Li, but not as much the second character coming on that banner. And Serval, for example, is not really gonna be used here as well. Natasha, Natasha on the team? No, not really. So none of these characters really help him out and like aid him with getting more damage per se, other than Asta. Asta can help marginally, but overall, it's not the best move to summon on this banner just because the 4 stars are so god awful and trash. If we even take, let's say, characters from next banner, right, where we have Yun Li, which is going to be a physical destruction type unit, and the little soy boy, I don't know, with the Foxman, I don't know his name either, but him as well. They are both going to be put in more niche scenarios, but help out more than him overall. I feel like his kit is more like a generalist kit for just attacking AoE enemies with nothing special to offer, whereas with the characters that are now coming out in the game, they are more specialist characters, but they hit massive damages in their own fields or do massive support in their own fields, and then give a pretty decent amount of support outside that field. Unless you're break, then it doesn't really work too well. But let's take Yunlin, for example, right? Let's just assume that she is going to be a follow-up attacking menace and own self-sustaining herself, right? She's going to be fine on the field, right? You can run her with Jade just fine as well. I think that she's going to be a much better physical DPS than what Argenti can offer. Not to mention, let's take Foxboy as well. Even if his banner is trash, he serves a niche for Acheron, especially if you have Acheron in your account, that is just going to skyrocket her damage up even more. This all comes back in full circle with Argenti is just not meant for any category, like at all. Take him in Memory of Chaos. There's not many enemies on the field to hit. He doesn't do much damage against those enemies. Something like Pure Fiction, there are a lot better options now, especially with the addition of Jade being a very strong support option for Pure Fiction. I think she's gonna pop off there, but he doesn't provide as much damage to really kill those mobs efficiently anymore. On top of that, you're still running into some energy concerns with him there. Then for something like Apocalyptic Shadow, there's not really many enemies on the field. I guess it depends on who you face, right? But you still have to match up the weakness typing. He has no way of implanting weakness type on the enemy. So overall, it just makes him a very niche unit that you probably shouldn't be summoning for. He's really not that good. I agree with Prywood with him being so low on the tier list. He is just not where I think a 5-star DPS should be. I honestly do think that he is probably the worst 5-star limited character in the game, and you probably should avoid him at all costs. I have run into issues. I have tried beating Mach 12 with him. I can't beat one side with him within 5 cycles just because of how slow he actually is with that. Anyways, gamers, that's going to do it for today's video. Tell me what your thoughts on Argenti. He might be the master of beauty, but do you see any other value in his kit? I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, because the Wuthering Waves community has ruined my life. Truly and honestly. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one later. Bye-bye.